one contention is that satire has become the most effective form of opposition to Donald Trump, what with the Democrats struggling to regroup. Let's talk to the comedian Ruby Wax, the columnist, wit and beta of Liberals, Rod Liddle, who also happens to be the Spectator's associate editor and who joins us from Middlesbrough, and also from Chicago, Scott Dikkers, who was the founder editor of the satirical online magazine The Onion. Good evening to you all. Scott, first of all, what is the satire trying to achieve? Is it just trying to make people laugh, or is there a kind of political edge to it, a purpose?
Well, before I answer that, I just want to make sure you know that I'm just going to make up a bunch of stuff in this interview, and I'm going to call that facts. And everything you say, I'm going to call fake news. So just want to set the ground rules before we get started.
Yeah, we know the rules.
Great. So satire is supposed to be funny, you know, and the main thing is it has to get people to laugh. So it doesn't have any necessarily serious intent unless you get the subtext. And, you know, a lot of people, maybe Donald Trump is a good example, are just not getting the subtext. So, you know, they don't think it's funny. But all the people who are getting it do.
Right. So is it better if it upsets Donald Trump, though, Scott? I mean, do you want it to upset him? Some say he is getting upset. He gets a bit riled by it. Does he?
Well, in a way, that's the only way he gets information, because you're not going to be able to communicate any actual facts to him or any, you know, reason-based analysis that's going to somehow cut through the clutter. If you can annoy him, then at least you've gotten his attention, and maybe that's the best that you can do. And in some ways, the satire is really kind of focusing all the rage in America, all the protests and everything else, which he doesn't see. He thinks those people are cheering for him, literally. So if the satire can channel that anger and direct it to him like a laser, then, you know, maybe that is worth something.
Ruby Wax,
hi.
Do you think satire has political power? Come on, erstwhile American.
Yeah, of course it does. But if we're talking in the context of Trump, he is the satire. You know, we're in a new situation, and let me just say, we can talk about satire, but we're wasting airtime. The elephant in the room with the roadkill on his head and a mouth like a toilet plunger is the fact that the guy's a narcissist. This is the first time I actually think we have somebody who's pathologically not right, and I'm not being funny. This guy's got a mental disturbance. I met him. You know, I interviewed him 15 years ago in an airplane, his plane, and he told me he was going to be president of the United States, and I laughed in his face, and he said, land the plane, I want her out of here. And we landed in Arkansas. The point of it is what's to satire when the guy's...
But the satire, do you not like the satire? The satire, live stuff?
Yeah, I like it, but, you know, to me, comedy should also reflect who we are, and we... the snobs who think, oh yeah, we're so witty, forgot about Arkansas and forgot about Nebraska. Something's really wrong in the world when they don't watch Saturday Night Live, so we ain't going anywhere, believe me. So the smug get smugger, and I love satire because at least it unites the world. Right.
But you think it's playing to the same people, the same...
Exactly. And believe me, I think, my opinion is, Trump's getting off on those things. Our narcissist loves attention. He doesn't care if it's for infamy or it's for, you know, they adore him. It's all the same to him. He's getting all the love he ever wanted.
Rod Liddle, your take on this? Because I think I heard you say yes when Ruby said the people of Nebraska perhaps not watching it.
Well, the people in Nebraska and Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Ohio, if you want me to name all the counties in America which Trump voted for, as opposed to who the lovies voted for in America. You see, the thing is, I haven't really heard any satire yet. I've heard sort of an explosion of pique from the well-off, from the middle class, from the students, from the actors and actresses. I haven't actually heard any satire, and I think there's a problem. I think that the satirists have got two problems. One, satire is always better when it comes from underneath, when it's against the establishment. And even though Donald Trump is now the president of the USA and we voted for Brexit, we still have an establishment which loathes Donald Trump, loathes Brexit, you know, the media, the judges, etc., the lovies, and so on. So it's always more potent when it comes from underneath. But the second problem is with satire is that it has to be nasty and it has to be bad. And I'm afraid the people who most loathe Donald Trump will not go down that route because they're constrained by their own ideology that they can't be too nasty. You couldn't get from them the sort of stuff which Jonathan Swift came up with in A Modest Proposal, because it's beyond the realm of their intellect to be as offensive as that. They wouldn't do it.
How do you get nasty about a guy that is nasty?
Give 15 years of Trump. Well, not 15 years of Trump, 8 years of Trump, 15 years of the post-liberal revolution, and then maybe the satirists will get it again.
Yeah. Scott, I mean, what do you think of what you've just heard from Rod Liddle there, who, by the way, is quite a biting satirist himself sometimes, who is willing to be offensive?
Yeah, no, I respectfully disagree. I feel like a lot of the satire on Trump so far has been extremely biting, and not all of it comes from the establishment. I know, the people who write on SNL, a lot of them used to work for me at The Onion, and these are not, rich establishment people. These are poor, down-and-out people who have every reason to bring down authorities. That's what makes the best satire, is when you bring down authority, you bring down the establishment, and they're going after him hard, and they're being mean. And I think, certainly a lot of it, like if you watch the late night talk shows here, like Jimmy Fallon, that stuff is all kind of cute, and they'll bring Trump on the show, and I'm not for that at all. I think the satire definitely needs to be something that makes him angry, not something that he laughs along with.
Right. The left, right. I mean, is there a sort of... Because Rod's point seems to be that the left are the ones who try to satirise more, the kind of... And they're the ones who are struggling in this.
There are no other kinds of satirists.
But Ruby.
No, I totally agree. It comes out of an anger, and it as long as Alec Baldwin keeps it up, I'm happier. Sarah, they're the top of their game, but it still has nothing to do. I'll always watch Saturday Night. It has nothing to do with what's going on now, and what's going on now is far more dangerous than the time of Spitting Image. Right. Way more dangerous. And so let him get nasty. It doesn't matter. The people who voted for him aren't listening. So we're really in trouble. I don't know what we can do, but
which is a substantive point.
I mean, I do know, but I'm not allowed to say on television.
Rod Liddle, I mean, you do consider yourself a satirist, because you do write very witty but very biting pieces that you do attempt to offend the people who you politically oppose. And I wonder whether we're overcomplicating the discussion. Basically, some people like to mock the other side, and that's always been what they do, and that's what they always will do.
It's what they always do and what they always will do. I don't know if I'm a satirist. I'm not sure I would dignify myself in any way. However, if Alec Baldwin is a satirist, then yes, I'm there, and I must be near the top of the tree if Alex is there. But the problem is, I think the problem that you have is, I heard much the same things being said about Ronald Reagan in 1980 from the shrieking left. And indeed, I was one of the people who at the time was shrieking. And I heard very much the same sort of stuff talked about George W. Bush's idiocy, ignorance, unfamiliarity with foreign affairs, not knowing perhaps where the Netherlands is and whether Dutch is a language or not. Exactly the same stuff about George W. Bush. It made no difference. Lenny Bruce made no difference. We don't make any difference in the short term, but we can drip in over the long term as part of a sort of reappraisal of where we are. But the idea that satire might suddenly stop Donald Trump building his wall is absurd.
Yeah. What makes good satire for you, Ruby?
Well, that's not my style. I like when we hold up the mirror to ourselves. I wrote a book called Frazzled. That's what I do. Yeah. Where we say, these are my foibles, and then everybody goes, oh, yeah, that's me too. Just to suddenly, point the finger. And he needs a finger. But to me, comedy is really about the human condition. It has to have something real in it, though. It has to resonate. So what's more real than us?
Yeah, and you can mock Donald Trump by picking things that are real about him.
Why I put him on my show. That was enough of satire. I did the show with him. I can't be funnier than that. Let him hang himself.
We need to leave it there.
But he's getting pleasure out of those tweets.
Thank you all very much indeed.